Matt, you were quick. Welcome to the show, bro.
Hey, what's up? Is my mic audio good? I've been having issues with this thing
I can
today.
hear you. Bud.
All right, awesome. Awesome. Okay. Uh, so what's the layout? What's the situation with the podcast?
What's the situation? So we're already rolling.
Awesome.
Um, I don't know. Did I take a call with you for
No.
this a couple months back, maybe?
Did you book one?
I think we did have a call. I don't know if it was with you.
No, we
Um,
never had a call. I think we just chatted on X.
well, it's just I'm gonna interview you about Grazly, your journey. Um, I have a couple notes, questions ready for you. That's just it.
Yeah, sure. Open
Yeah.
book. Let's get into it.
Perfect, bro. Welcome to the show, dog. How are you?
Appreciate it. I'm good. New York City's sunny, so can't complain for now.
New York City. Where in New York?
I'm in Staten Island, the outskirts.
Wow. How is that?
How's it being in Staten Island or how's it being in New York?
Both.
Good during the summer. Pretty depressing in the winter. It gets gray here, gets cold. It's like 28 degrees outside right now, so the puffer's out, the gloves are out. Staten Island's a little convenient. I mean, there's more grass than there is in New York City, unless you're like in Central Park. Uh, Easy commute. But yeah, my brother, also a co-founder. We used to live in the same house. I'm 21. He's 23. He just turned 24 actually, and he just moved over to Florida, Fort Lauderdale, and I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Why'd you move with him?
I got to pay my dues in Staten Island for a little bit. I'm staying back here, home base. I'll probably be down there at some point. I go down there occasionally, but I gotta man the base for now here.
So was Grazly born in New York?
Yeah, it's Grazly.
Grazly, my bad, bro. Is
Yeah, no worries.
is the meat from there as well?
No, the meat is from the elk we get from New Zealand. We get it from from a program called Cervina elk. We did some research and basically Cervina is kind of like the Regenified, which is a really good sourcing standard here. It's like the same thing but in New Zealand. So it's all grass fed, grass finished. The elk has to be under 3 years old when it's slaughtered, harvested, whatnot, and it has to be on open pastures all year round. So we used to get our elk from America, and then we moved it to New Zealand because I found that awesome program. And then we get our bison from North America. So I specifically said North America, not just USA, because we also pull a little bit from Canada as well.
Okay, so I have so many questions on that, but
Yeah,
I want to get started with you.
yeah,
So give us a little bit for the folks who don't know who you are, and how'd you get into this game?
yeah, sure. So, like I said, I'm 21. I just turned 21 this year in July. And pretty much all of my life, I've struggled with two issues primarily: obesity and rheumatoid arthritis. So, one chronic autoimmune disease, and then one disease kind of fueled from a Western American diet. And how it all started was I got to like my lowest point, you could say my heaviest point, when I was 16, 240 pounds. And, when you're 240 pounds, I'm 5'9", you just don't feel good about your weight, started to lose weight. And at the time, I was also dealing with rheumatoid arthritis, but the number one issue on my mind was weight. So
Yeah.
I took the conventional Western bodybuilder approach, like the current modern bodybuilder, not the golden age bodybuilder approach.
Okay.
So, like sugar-free maple syrups,
Yeah.
stevias, all of that stuff, non-fat Greek yogurts. And I did lose the weight. I got to 155, but it was a
Wow.
healthy 155. At that point, I was a healthy weight, but my arthritis was the worst it's ever been. I had loose bone fragments in my elbow. I couldn't move my arm without unlocking it, and I ultimately lost 15 degrees of elbow extension on my right arm, and about 4 degrees on my left. So that's permanent. Never getting that extension back just because the cartilage got worn down to a point where it was just bone on bone, and then I lost bone fragments. That got loose in my elbow. At that point, I was now 18, in college as a freshman, and I was just kind of eating the normal, on-campus diet as
Mm-hmm.
best as I could. And then I got introduced by means of the meta algorithm to
Wow.
like more animal-based people. Originally it was Stan Efferding, and then I kind of went down the rabbit hole and got, the Paul Saladinos, the Carnivore Aureliuses, all of those. And this is like 2021 at this point. So I got home from college for winter break as a freshman, and I was like, I'm just gonna go balls to the wall in this diet. I did it, and at the time, it was like the first ever time I was able to fully taper off my medication for my rheumatoid arthritis,
Wow.
methotrexate, without any symptoms. And yeah, that's pretty much from there. I just ate this diet very strict the entire time, the rest of my time in college before I, dropped out for Grazly, and never went
Mm,
on medication again. And yeah, my brother did the same. He had Crohn's disease. He was underweight, but he was able to get off the biologics, the Stelara, the Humira. And yeah, we spent about almost 3 years now in this the health game.
wow. He was underweight because of the Crohn's,
He had Crohn's and anemia, yeah,
so
and
he
he was
couldn't
underweight.
just like digest properly, or what was the problem there?
Yeah, Crohn's is like it's a bowel inflammation.
Yeah.
So
Oof.
pretty much everything he ate just caused him a lot of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
the medication for Crohn's is even worse than the medication for rheumatoid arthritis. I mean, they give you biologics, which are like fully proven to cause cancer.
Yes, I
Like,
saw.
fully proven, even the doctors know, and then they're just like, all right, you're gonna take this. So he was underweight. I think he was 130 pounds at 5'11". So now we're both just like fully off medication, healthy body weights,
I
everything.
love it. I love it. So when you got diagnosed for arthritis, you got medicated. Didn't it ever like click a little bit to you? Um, that why they just like prescribe a medication instead of a lifestyle change?
Right away, no. It took a bit of a fear mongering through Instagram stories and videos from the whole animal based community before that got through. At the time, autoimmune disease was kind of just like so rampant around college, and I feel like just everyone had something: arthritis,
Really?
sepsis, psoriasis, whatever. Yeah, IBS. I feel like every other
Wow.
person in college has IBS at this point. But it's
Yeah.
just so obvious. They're like, oh, you take a medication. I mean, how many people in your adult life do you see that just take medication of some sort, whether it be an antidepressant or for something else? I feel like everyone
Yeah.
now gets medicated. So until you start to actually learn about it,
It's
it
so
didn't,
normal. Yeah.
yeah, it didn't feel unnatural at all. And I mean, I remember I tried tapering it off in college for absolutely no reason, just for like, can I taper off? I wonder.
Hmm.
And I couldn't at all. Like it would just be too much pain. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna be on this for the rest of my life until
Wow.
I think about it. Yeah.
How are you dealing with that right now?
I'm fully in remission.
Wow.
Obviously, chronic diseases they can't be cured. They're never going to go away. They're with you for life. But you could be fully in remission. So I'm fully in remission. I don't have any issues at all with
Hmm.
arm pain or crackling or anything like that. So I mean, I still have the loss of flexion, but just got to live with that.
That's beautiful, bro. So how'd you originally click with these carnivore bros? How did that all that information like make sense? Were you just tired of arthritis, or how was it?
So yeah, I remember the first person was probably Paul Saladino that I saw.
Hmm.
And then at the time, I was big into the gym. I'm still big into the gym, but I was more into like the bro science stuff. So I was following more plates, more dates. He's like the
Okay.
epitome of scientific real science, you know? So I was following more plates, more dates at the time. I remember Dino did his first original podcast with him like 3 years
Right.
ago. Yeah, like a
Hmm.
long time ago. And they fully got into that. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try this diet. Before that, I was introduced to the vertical diet by my brother, which like we kind of did like a dirty vertical diet, like 2 meals clean, 2 meals out, just because we were on college and everything. But when I got home, like I said, for the winter and I tried it, like fully strict animal based meat, fruit, no dairy even, just meat and fruit, honestly, and like honey. I just felt amazing. It was the first time in my life that I didn't deal with any arthritis issues at all. So then at that point, I guess you could say that was my indoctrination into that whole sphere.
Yeah, I love that. And was that the reason your chips were born?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we spent about like 2 years in the niche before we like thought of an idea that had a good product market fit from our point of view. Like a lot of the people in the animal based carnivore, whatever, just holistic community in general that live in America are kind of faced with two options. They're second, third, fourth generation Americans, so they're already like part of the West, so they've fully lost the idea and the ways to cook organ meats because we have these traditional backgrounds. I'm first generation. I'm Ukrainian Belarusian mix. So I grew up eating liver and heart. I always knew how to cook it. My parents always cooked it. But people that lived in America for a couple generations, they fully lost just how to cook organ meats. So it's completely devoid from their diet. And then if you're part of this animal-based, holistic, carnivore specifically community, right? The whole idea of it is kind of to return to what our ancestors were doing because they were the most healthy at that time. And then you have some people pushing pills, like liver pills, right? Which is like kind of like an oxymoron, right? You're trying to return to a traditional way of eating, and then you're eating freeze-dried liver pills, like something that would have never existed like 1,000, 2,000 years ago, millions of years ago. So we kind of split the difference. Our original mission was to kind of breach the barrier to entry for people to eat actual whole food organs into their diet, kind of like a gateway drug to get onto actual, whole food organs without drying or anything or desiccating like that. So obviously, bison is better than beef. The FDA regulations around it are a lot more strict, right? So they can never be confined. They're always grass fed. They're not always grass finished, but they're always grass fed. So we thought it was the perfect animal, and then that's how the idea was born.
That's beautiful. So, why'd you choose bison liver? First of all, I feel like this is easier. Why are organ meats so important?
Yeah. So if we look back, I mean, people have been eating organ meats for as long as we could possibly remember. For a lot of the time, we just didn't have a choice, right? Like 3,000. Like let's go back to hunter gatherer times. People got to kill. They're not just gonna be like, I don't like the liver. I'm gonna, I'm just not. I'm gonna abandon this liver. I'm not gonna eat it. They eat every part. I mean, even modern hunter gatherers like the Hads of the Maasai, they eat like I think the one that killed it gets the testicle of the baboon or whatever the Hadza hunt, and then the liver is like the most prized that goes second or that goes third or something like that, and then the muscle meat is last. But when you actually look into the data of it, there's so much unique benefits of organ meats. They're especially liver. Liver is kind of like the multivitamin of organ meats. It has every single vitamin, almost every single vitamin. It is bioavailable form. So, like vitamin A, for example, beta carotene is what's found in carrots, which is the not so bioavailable form. You need like a huge dose just for it to start absorbing into your body. Whereas liver has retinol, the bioavailable form, and there's a bunch of other stuff like what's that called? It's called glandular therapy, where organs have unique cofactors inside of them that help the corresponding organ inside of your own body. So, for example, if you eat heart, the heart of that organ, the heart of the animal that you ate, that helps your heart inside of your own body through cardiovascular means. Same thing with brain. Same thing with testicle. I mean, I'm pretty sure Paul Saladino's Heart and Soil supplements. One of them has testicle in them, and then they tested it for NSF certification, but it has bioavailable testosterone in it. So college athletes can't have it. That's just one example of like glandular therapy where the corresponding organ meat has beneficial effects in your own body. We see it in modern medicine as well with thyroid. I know a lot of modern medicines that use porcine thyroid for hypo or hyperthyroidism, which acts as an autoregulator as well. So there's a lot of like these unique benefits of organs that we've just completely abandoned. And I feel like people need to reintroduce into their diet, especially if they're looking to get healthier.
It's so wild. It's like these facts are screaming you to eat these things.
Hmm.
Organs helping organs,
Yeah.
and these pieces being so nutrient dense. I would guess it's because they're organs, so you need the most nutrients to make them work. And for that reason, how do you dose eating organs? Does that make sense? Could you just like schlonk a bag of bison liver? Because I think one of the points that I've read the most on Twitter on like eating organ meats and liver is just doing it once in a while because your ancestors would do that more realistically, right? There's one liver.
Hmm.
And there's so much like stuff in that
Yeah.
one liver. Does this make sense?
Yeah, totally. I get exactly what we're talking about. I mean, we recommend for hours. So due to the yield and dehydration process, this isn't a jerky filled with soy marinades and seed oils made to, inflate the yield of it. So what ends up happening is we start out with 8 ounces of raw weight liver, or just about 7.5, and that gets dried down to 1.5 ounces. So the yield is pretty ass by jerky standards, about 20 to 25%. But that's just what you get by not compromising on, ingredients and values and stuff like that. So one bag is 7.5 ounces of raw weight liver. We recommend consuming one bag of our crisps a week. That's how we do it. That goes out to about 1 ounces of raw liver a day, which is what universally is kind of like the accepted norm for how much to consume. And how you choose to consume that is completely up to you. Myself, I do one bag a week in one sitting, just because that's like I feel like that's the most like ancestrally consistent way to do it. Right? You're not getting a piece of liver every single day. You're getting like one big serving a week or every 2 weeks or whenever I have a spare bag, honestly.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. You're talking about this yield where you use so much uh, liver to dry them up, and you get so much. Are your margins still high for that?
The margins for the product,
Yes, I'm just
like
curious.
profit margin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely not the highest by any standard of e-commerce, right? Like a lot of companies have 80, 75, 90% margins.
Sure.
We're not lucky enough to have that. But they're comfortable enough where we could give a 10% discount
I love
pretty
it.
much
Yeah, that's great.
most of the year. Our biggest discount's like 15% on Black Friday. We give obviously um what's it called? Discount incentive, sorry, incentive to subscribe to
Mm-hmm.
the product is our
Mm-hmm.
biggest discount. But that's just because we don't have to pay a customer acquisition cost, right? We don't have to put spend behind the meta dollars for them to come in again after we already acquired them and they're on subscription.
Yes.
It's enough to have a business.
So, by the way, I'm typing my computer more questions. I'm not texting or anything because I don't have my notebook. I forgot it at
Yeah.
home. Um, what do you feel about the anti vitamin A movement?
I think it's pretty much nonsense, honestly. I'm not on Twitter too much. I've seen snippets here
You
and there. It seems
you
like it's
shouldn't be.
fully rampant on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Like most of my Twitter is like for the brief times I am on Twitter, it's kind of like e-commerce Twitter, since that's where more of
That's
my
great.
interests go to when it comes to building a business. But I have seen those kind of little posts about vitamin A and stuff like that. And I think it's nonsense, something we've been eating for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. All of a sudden it's bad for you when it's one of the most cherished things.
Right, right.
There's absolutely like I don't think there's any evidence of that at all. I mean, I think the one case of people actually having vitamin A toxicity came from polar bears. I think it was a one-time thing where Arctic explorers basically ate an entire polar bear liver, which has the highest concentration of vitamin A
Oh,
ever.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
but
Okay.
I really don't think vitamin A toxicity is a concern anyone has to worry about.
So, what are the values built upon your business? What besides selling these chips are you doing?
Yeah, so it kind of grew with the business.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, when we started out, we only sold bison liver chips. That was kind of our flagship product.
Mm-hmm.
At the time when we launched, it was kind of like an MVP, a minimum viable product, because it was by no means as good as it is now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we didn't have the supply chain, we didn't have the co-packers needed to make it as good as it is now.
Like
But
you would just buy some liver and dry at your house, is what you're saying, kind of.
no, no, no. We always used a facility. We never did
Okay.
it in-house because the cottage laws in New York are just absolutely like against the business. It's tough to get
Really?
past the cottage laws.
Wow.
Yeah, so we went straight to co-packer right away.
That's
Um,
great.
Hopefully down the line we'll have our own facility, maybe next year, late next
You
year,
will.
where the thoughts are. But when we started, we only had one product, our bison liver, the plain one, so just bison liver and salt. And the original goal was to lower the barrier to entry to getting organ meats into your diet. And I think when we were comfortable with the product and we were happy with what we made and everything, we decided to branch out. So at this point, I think our goal as a brand with all the upcoming product launches and releases that we have lined up is to eventually pretty much replace all of the synthetic and toxic daily staples people have in their diets, skincare, pantry, whatever, with nutrition pretty much as nutritious as they could get, right? Like instead of, for example, let's say beef tallow bomb, instead of beef tallow, we're using bison tallow. Instead of normal raw honey, we're using manuka honey, raw manuka honey. For like the crisps, instead of using beef liver, we use bison liver. Instead of just using sea salt, we use Verisalt, right? So pretty much the maxed out health version of exactly what you have in your staple, in your diet, pantry, whatever, skincare, we're using the best version of that. That's the goal. And the values of the company are always just transparency and 100% grass fed, regenerative. We don't want to be hurting the planet while we make money, right?
I love that so much. Have you visited your bisons yet over in New Zealand?
No, our bison are in North America. The
Right, my bad.
elk
What
is
it,
in New Zealand.
the elk. Have you gone? Have you visited the sources of your products yet?
No, we source from a lot of ranchers, so it's hard to keep up the supply chain always, but it's very hard to find time as well. Like, we're working for ourselves, but we're bootstrapped, so we're not funded by any VCs. We haven't taken in any money, we haven't given away any equity. So it's just my brother and I, and the work it's long. So like I'm working from like 8:30 to 8:30 pretty much with breaks for the gym and for eating and obviously social events at night, but not so much free time. Definitely not to travel.
Why Elkhart, by the way?
Why Elkhart is in terms of what? Just why
Why
do we?
why why did you choose that as your next product?
Yeah. So one of the when we launched Elkhart, we were getting it from North America, like I said before, and one of my bison liver guys, he had a connection that was Elkhart or just was an elk farm, and I started talking to him, and we got some elk liver and we got some Elkhart from him, and Elkhart tasted surprisingly good. So instead of going right away to elk liver, we went to Elkhart. We made it for ourselves first. We liked it, and then we were like, all right, whatever, let's launch Elkhart. It seemed to be doing very well. It's still doing very well, and then that kind of led us to Bison Heart, elk liver. We recently discontinued the elk liver just because we don't like it. It's too gamey, and I don't want to sell anything that I don't like or use myself. And it's simply like
That's
we had
beautiful.
some people that liked it, but it's just so gamey. It's
Right.
definitely not fitting of a middle market brand, which is ultimately the end goal for us.
Of
Simply too
course.
gamey. But yeah, had a good connection, and then at that point, when we had the supply chain and the demand proven for the elk heart, I was like, we need something with more scale while keeping the same, USPs, the unique selling points, and all of that stuff. So found a guy in he's actually in North America, but he's kind of like the salesman. I think he gets commission or something, but he pulls it in from New Zealand for us.
Well, that's lovely, bro. How do you keep people coming for more?
The demand.
Yes.
I guess you have to agitate the customer pain points, right? Just talking from a marketing point of view. It also depends what part of the funnel they're at, top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel. We do most of our marketing for top of funnel. And I guess for that is kind of identifying exactly what's wrong with the customer. Like if they feel chronic fatigue or if they always feel tired, they don't have like that energy, they don't have the sex drive like they used to have, something like that. You agitate that. You basically say like, this is an issue prevalent in a lot of people. For us, the most like resonating story was actually our founder's story, which is kind of how we popped off back in December of last year, where my brother starts it off with like, why did my brother and I start a company that turns liver into chips? And then he goes into our founder's story, and we don't even mention the product until 50 seconds in, right? So we identified this huge issue with America. Everyone has chronic disease. Everyone's like not as healthy as they could be. And then we plugged our product. That's kind of like we don't market it as a cure all by any means, but it's kind of like the dipping your toes into the rabbit hole of health. So you kind of just have to figure out a pain point, figure out a drive for the people to buy the product and market it. And I mean, when we started, I never knew there was so much demand that could be created around this product, but we've grown unbelievably. And yeah,
I love it. And I'm curious about the taste. So I'm kosher, so I can't eat that product. I can't taste that.
yeah,
But I know I've tried, and liver has a very um it's
liver and onions. Yeah,
yeah,
very
exactly.
Jewish food.
It has a very powerful taste. So
Mhm.
how have you worked with that? Just selling like liver and salt.
Yeah, that was actually like one of the things we have to like mitigate the most, because we've tried some competitors' beef liver, which I won't name, and it was pretty bad. Like I had to spit it out, and I eat liver my entire life mostly. Like I hated it as a kid. I came back around to it when I was like 17 or 18, and I had to spit it out. So the biggest thing for us is cutting it thin. We do some other stuff as well, but that kind of goes into our production mode. Which I mean, if I feel like I could tell you over messages, but if I give that away,
Of
it's kind of a
course.
big production mode for us, which like gets rid of the competitors, I guess you could say. One of the biggest things is we cut it thin. Our liver crisps right now are 1.75 millimeters thin, so that's almost paper thin at that point. And when it's so thin, it becomes more of a texture than a taste, right? Like you bite into it, you taste the saltiness. There's a slight liver after flavor, but it's the most non-livery piece of liver you'll ever eat, right? It becomes more of a texture than a taste. All you really taste is the crispiness, if that makes sense. But and then we also have our seasoned ones as well, which is like I know a lot of people on this type of diet, carnivore, animal based, whatever, they have an intolerance to seasonings, spices especially. So we have the plain options for everyone, like we call it the carnivore variety pack, which is just the meat and salt version of bison heart, bison liver, and elk heart. And then we have the seasoned ones as well with our old fashioned smoky barbecue, which only use organic spices. And I believe it's from Essential Organics and Smith and Truslow that we get all those spices from. So two good brands as well that we don't list, but if anyone asks.
Yeah, it's important. That's beautiful. How's been the process of creating this business from the idea, the logo, the website? everything that got you to drop out of school?
Yeah, it's been very learn as you go, played by ear type of thing. So when we started the idea of the business, that was in like January of 2022. Original flagship idea was beef testicle crisps. So that, I guess that's just a testament to how deep inside of the rabbit hole of health we were in. But then eventually, as you know, you get into it, an idea is kind of just like a fragment of what it is. When you actually start working on it, we realize, like, you know, market's not that big enough for this. Bison's better. Liver's probably the best thing to go to market with. So I was a college junior at the time. I was doing a math and computer science double major, and my brother was working corporate in Manhattan, PwC, as a tech consultant. So we pretty much had our hands full, and we started this business. We went into it, neither of us knowing anything about business. We didn't know how to run a business. We didn't know how to look at the retention, how to look at the acquisition, just absolutely anything. I remember when we just started, we were like prompted to get Klaviyo by someone, which is the email marketing platform that's like brand industry standard across everywhere. And we're like, yeah, we don't need that, which is like the biggest retention pillar for any business. So we knew absolutely nothing going into the business. And when we started, it didn't really take off until we ran our first ever ad, which was late November, early December, which was our founder story ad. And at that point, it seemed like the demand just came out of nowhere. So I remember during December winter break of 2023 going into 2024, I was like, I'm faced with an ultimatum where I can either stay in school and bottleneck the growth of the business, because at that point we were fulfilling everything ourselves. We didn't have a good, you know, production line. We definitely didn't have our back end supply chain sorted or anything like that. Or I could drop out of college, kind of like put all of my eggs in one basket, just because we knew we had faith that this would work out, and you know, focus on my business while my brother gets the income from his job that he'll put into the business as well. So I ultimately dropped out, and then at that point, we stopped selling purposefully so we could fix the product, because at that point it was 1 inch thick instead of 1.75 millimeters. So it was very livery. So we didn't sell for anything from February to March. At that point, we found new co-packers, we solidified our supply chain, and we rebranded as well from Nose to Tail Provisions to Grazly. And we relaunched April 3rd. And at that point, from then on, we've pretty much just been learning about business as we go. Like I said, we didn't know anything, and it's a game where you just never stop learning. I feel like if I could go back, I would have done it all different, but
What
you
would you
just never.
do if you could go back?
If I could go back, I would have done everything different for the business from the start. I
For
would have
example,
definitely had co-packers. I definitely would have. I remember when we launched, all we had was we tasted the product once, right? We didn't see the co-packers process. We didn't know anything about that. We didn't have any email flow set up. We didn't have any SMS set up. We had absolutely no marketing strategy. We were kind of posting on Instagram with like 75 followers, like posting like we launched, got like 2 likes probably from bots, right? There was no demand driven. There was no hype. There was no like FOMO, like if you don't buy, you're missing out type of thing.
I love that, bro. What would be your advice to someone with a desire to create and start a business like this?
Yeah, definitely find a product that you'll like, you'll use yourself on a day-to-day basis. If you have an understanding of the industry you want to be in, kind of like we did with health, then you'll know that there's a demand for some kind of product that just isn't made in that industry yet. Something like where you're making it on your own because it's not available. At that point, when you're so deep inside of a niche, you already identified a need for a product market fit, right? You already know a product will have a product market fit, kind of like we did when there was two alternatives: cook your own liver, get a liver pill. There was nothing like there was nothing good tasting right down the middle where it's a whole food supplement type of thing. So, and then the other one is just definitely get started. Get started, learn along the way. People will help you out. I know a lot of people on Twitter. I've spoken to them. I've given them some advice. I've definitely gotten some advice from people on Twitter itself, especially the business part of health Twitter. So an idea just starts out as kind of like something that's like very foggy, hazy. You don't really know what it is until you start working on it. It becomes like fully clear to you what the idea is, how to launch it, how to get it to market. And if you're fully passionate about it, you're using it yourself, you know exactly the benefits of the product, then other people will buy as well.
Fucking love that. It gets clear when you just start. I love that. What is the work you do taught you about the world so far?
The work I do tell me about the world. So It's a good question. Uh, People definitely seem to care a lot more about their health now than ever before. I oversee the customer support of pretty much everything Grazly, and we have like a flow called regarding your order. Basically, asks like, um, hey, you bought your Grizzly water, any specifics, basically any type of feedback whatsoever. If you don't like it, don't hold back. If you like it, tell us why, something like that. And people seem to be super, super health conscious now, especially about their ingredients. And it's kind of been like a huge change of America, honestly, because when we went into it, you were called like insanely weird for like I remember like if you brought in a public setting, you brought like a beef bowl, like beef rice avocado, right? And you had that like 5, 6 times a week, you were literally called weird, right? You're like called dogmatic, weird, something like that. Now I feel like it's completely normalized. Seed oils are fully like fear mongered against. Like even people that you don't expect to know about seed oils know about seed oils. Like there's 40, 50-year-old men that I'm familiar with, they fully know about seed oils. So there's definitely been a huge shift in what people find healthy, what people don't find unhealthy in our favor. So the wind's definitely blowing with us, not against us.
Yeah, I love that. Why do you think people care more about their health now?
Yeah, it's crazy, especially with RFK Jr. going to office. Just
100%.
this whole presidency and RFK Jr. backing Trump and everything like that. It's been absolutely huge for the health community. Like so much has been exposed, and he's leading the charge. He's on every single Instagram post, especially during the time of the election. He's on every single Twitter post, and yeah, his message is insanely good.
But why do you think people care more about their health now? You just like you think it's just because of RFK?
No, it's because there's way more people that are sick now than more than ever.
Yeah.
I think the statistic with chronic disease is absolutely like insane. I think it's like 20% or 30. I could be wrong. It's like 20% or 30% growth year over year. There's more autism cases than ever before. Stuff that just hasn't been happening to us like 2, 3 generations ago is happening to us now, and it gets worse with every single generation. So especially like with all of the information coming out about vaccines, I think COVID was also like a huge wake up call on that. So I think everything past like 2021, when like COVID settled down a little bit and people had like more time to look into it, everyone has just been more health conscious, but not in like the vegan health conscious way, kind of like in like the animal products are good for you health conscious way. Because once you find out, like once you realize animal products are good for you, that you just go down the spiral of everything else. Honestly,
Yeah, I love that. COVID was such a big push. It's almost like this what would you say? This Trump win would have never happened without COVID. Because you would have never
yeah,
had Elon Musk. You would have never had this RFK movement.
a
It's
hundred
crazy.
percent.
Everything was perfectly aligned for Renaissance.
Yeah,
A
there
new
was such
world.
a big distrust in the government at the
Yes.
time, like past COVID, where I feel like if you were to go back and you would have made this Trump campaign, the 2016 Trump campaign, where he was a convicted felon and the courts were going absolutely balls to the wall
Yeah.
against his case, everyone would have just trusted the courts, would have trusted the government,
A
be like,
hundred
yeah, he's a
percent.
convicted felon, we're going to take him off the ballot. But ever since that huge COVID thing and the vaccines, the huge push, I remember when I was at Binghamton at the time, the college I went to, they fully mandated vaccines, requirements, everything, or else you'd get kicked out. I had a lot of friends that got fully kicked out and everything like that.
How
It
did
was
you
like
feel about that?
I hated it at the time. I wasn't
Super.
in the health rabbit hole, so I was
Hmm.
like, all right, whatever. I want to go to college. I want to get a job, so I got
Hmm.
vaccinated. But after that, after I figured everything out, I bought a sauna for my house. So sauna, healthy diet. Hopefully, I'm detoxed by now. But it's crazy. Like my friends got kicked out of college. U Albany was a big one. They fully started kicking everyone out. This huge kind of like control campaign by the government pretty much
Right.
made the pendulum swing the other way fully because it
At
was such
that
the government authoritarian side that it fully swung back.
right. I mean, you're seeing this as sorry, you're seeing this in hindsight now, right? You didn't feel
Mhm.
that in the moment.
No, in the moment, because at that point I was 17. I
Okay.
was literally I was on my sugar-free maple syrup, whatever diet. At that point, I literally just didn't care. I just
Yeah.
all I cared about, I guess, was losing weight, and that's pretty much it
I
at the
love it,
time.
bro.
Yeah.
What brings you most joy in life currently?
Right now, it's just growing Grazly. Every single time Grazly has some kind of new milestone or some kind of new product that gets made that I absolutely love, or some kind of idea, or even the discourse between my brother and I when it comes to not agreeing on a certain idea or some kind of product for Grazly, like the whole journey of it, I'm really trying to take the time to actually like enjoy the journey before we get to the destination. So I feel like just every single time we hit a milestone or some kind of business development comes for Grazly, it just feels like amazing to me.
I love that. What's that destination you're envisioning? Where do you want to take this business?
Yeah, I definitely want to have Grazly on shelves. Like I said, I think the end goal for us is definitely like a middle market product. We have a bunch of new products. Right now, we're pretty niche with the products that we sell. Our organ meat crisps specifically are like super niche. And I know tallow skincare has blown up, but I don't think it's blown up to the point to actually be on shelves on the bigger box stores, not like Amazon, not like Walmart, Publix, stuff like that. I'm talking about like the smaller Sprouts, Whole Foods. I don't think it's big enough to be on those type of shelves yet. But we're releasing muscle meat products very soon. We're gonna announce them in like 4 days. 4 days, we're gonna announce that we're doing a Kickstarter for them
That's
because
fun, bro.
yeah, grass-fed and finished bison brisket is what it's gonna be. Because I'm assuming this
Mm.
podcast won't be out until at least 4 days.
Well, listen, bro, I could release this before so you can use this podcast as like marketing or something.
No, it'll run from December 4th. We're gonna announce it until
Mm-hmm.
January 17th. So
Oh.
there's plenty of time. At any point during the campaign, we
Mm-hmm.
just feel free to release it. But
Perfect, man.
yeah, we're running a Kickstarter. It's gonna be bison brisket crisps, and grass-fed and finished bison brisket is fucking expensive. There's no like better way to put it. It runs your pockets deep. So we're trying to do a Kickstarter. We already have a proof of concept that we make products with
Exactly.
ethical standards. It's a good product. We have that proof of concept from people, so we kind of need some working capital to get this bison brisket going, which is
No.
kind of for the Kickstarter. And that's kind of like my vision for the how to get to the middle marketplace.
Yeah.
Um, Bison brisket, bison ribeye, package designs are made, everything's
Oof.
ready to go, and
Wow.
that's kind of like, in my idea, that's kind of the top of funnel product for Grazly. Like if they see us from anything, if they take the bison brisket, they buy the bison ribeye, they'll get hit with the email flows. If we're talking purely D2C right now, they get hit with the email flows and they'll get educated. Why are you buying this? Why does it only have two ingredients? Why is this better than Archer's, or why is it better than Jack Link's?
Yeah.
And start getting educated. They'll get to the liver. They'll get to the skincare, and then kind of like the ultimate vision is they adopt all Grazly products as replacements for
Yeah.
the products they have now. But in an ideal world, all of our products are on shelves. In a realistic world, I don't see our organ crisps ever being on shelves just because of how niche they are. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
some upscale boutique grocery stores. I know
100%.
Happy Grocery in New York City stocks us, and a lot of people buy from them. But that's like, I guess, a unique case study. Um,
You'll be in there one and Whole Foods soon, bro.
the demand needs to come from kind of like the beauty of direct to consumer is that it comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
The hard part of retail is that it's only in one place, right? So
Yeah.
like there could be only a limited amount of people. I know our hotspots are California, New York, Florida, and Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
but getting it into one store in California, maybe like one person out of the thousands of people that buy in California can get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Mm-hmm.
challenging part about retail. The demand kind of needs to be universally across America,
Right.
which we already know it is for muscle meats.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the realistic goal right there.
Perfect, Matt. Well, that was really good. I appreciate you today, and I'm very excited for what's next.
Yeah, no problem. I'll swing over your address after the thing. I'll send you some bison brisket, bison ribeye. Get your
Perfect,
feedback.
man. 100%. Thank you, Matt.